Through an overheard phone call and a heartfelt confession, Jack proves his commitment to authentic love, challenging Emma to take one final risk with her heart. Get ready to swoon, romance enthusiasts, because this gesture is about to sweep you off your feet and onto a bed of rose petals. Chapter 12. Two Halves of a Whole. The final day of the Friendsgiving getaway dawned crisp and clear. Emma stood at her window, watching the sun paint the mountains gold. Her bag lay packed on the bed, a silent reminder that in a few hours she'd be heading back to New York, back to her old life. If only her heart could be packed away so neatly. With a deep breath, Emma steeled herself for what she needed to do. She had to find Jack, to tell him that she couldn't reconcile the two versions of him she'd seen. It wasn't fair to either of them to continue this, whatever it was. She made her way through the lodge, her heart heavy. As she approached the small, secluded balcony where she and Jack had shared moments earlier in the week, she heard his voice animated and firm.
Zane, I've made up my mind. I'm selling my shares.
Emma froze, her hand on the door handle. Through the glass, she could see Jack pacing, phone to his ear, gesticulating passionately against the backdrop of snow-covered mountains.
No, listen.
Jack continued, oblivious to Emma's presence.
This isn't about the money. It's about doing what's right. The app can help so many people, but not if we're focused on profit margins and investor returns.
Emma leaned closer, her earlier mission forgotten as she listened intently.
A non-profit?
Jack said, responding to an unheard question.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Based in New York, working directly with hospitals. We can make a real difference, Zane.
Emma's breath caught. New York? Was he really considering?
I know it's a risk.
Jack's voice softened.
But some things are worth risking everything for. I've spent too long compartmentalizing my life, showing different faces to different people. It's time to be authentic, to integrate all parts of who I am into everything I do.
As Emma listened, she felt a shift in her perception. This wasn't the brash tech bro or even the vulnerable man from the tunnel. This was Jack. All of him, passionate and caring and driven all at once. Suddenly, the door creaked open under Emma's weight. Jack spun around, his eyes widening in surprise as he saw her. For a moment, they stared at each other, the weight of the moment hanging between them. Then, a warm smile spread across Jack's face.
Emma?
He said softly, then into the phone.
Zane, I've got to go. We'll talk later. My decision stands.
He ended the call and slipped the phone into his pocket.
I'm sorry.
Emma stammered.
I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I was just...
Jack shook his head, stepping towards her.
Don't apologize. I'm glad you're here. There's something I need to tell you, something I want you to understand.
As Emma stepped onto the balcony, the crisp mountain air enveloping them both, she realized that the conversation she'd come to have had changed entirely. She wasn't here to end things anymore. She was here to listen, to understand, and maybe, just maybe, to begin something new. Jack took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart race.
Emma, I've made a decision, and I want you to hear it from me.
Jack's face broke into a genuine smile, not the showman's grin Emma had grown wary of, but something softer, more real.
The app is more important than ever, which is why I'm starting a nonprofit to run it. We'll be headquartered in New York, partnering directly with hospitals to ensure we're meeting real needs, not just chasing the next big payday.
Emma's breath caught. New York, where she lived, where she worked.
I realized,
Jack continued, his eyes finding Emma's again,
that I've been living a divided life. Tech bro Jack, driven Jack, caring Jack, they're all me. But I've been compartmentalizing, showing different faces to different people. It's time to integrate all parts of myself, to be authentic in all areas of my life.
He stepped forward and suddenly it felt like they were the only two people in the room.
Emma,
he said, his voice soft but carrying in the hushed room.
You made me see that I was losing myself in the persona I'd created. That in trying to be everything to everyone, I was in danger of becoming nothing to myself. You challenged me to be real, to be consistent. This is me rising to that challenge.
Emma felt tears pricking at her eyes. This was Jack, her Jack, but also the charismatic leader, the driven entrepreneur. For the first time, she saw how these weren't separate personas, but integral parts of a whole complex person.
I don't know if this changes anything between us,
Jack said, vulnerability clear in his voice.
but I do know that I want to be the best version of myself. And somehow, you inspire me to do that.
Her mind was whirling, her carefully constructed walls crumbling.
Jack,
She said, her voice barely above a whisper.
I don't know what to say. This is huge. But how do I know this isn't just another grand gesture? How can I be sure?
Jack's eyes softened with understanding. He took her hands in his touch sending sparks through her.
Emma, listen to me. This isn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. I've been thinking about this ever since our conversation after the hike. You made me realize something fundamental about myself.
He paused, gathering his thoughts.
I've always adapted to what others expected of me. The tech world wanted a brash, confident leader, so that's who I became. But with you, I found myself wanting to show all sides of who I am. The driven entrepreneur, yes, but also the goofy prankster, the man who's terrified of losing you. They're all me, Emma, and I want to be that whole integrated person not just with you, but in every aspect of my life.
Emma felt her heart racing, but she needed more.
But Jack, your whole life is in San Francisco. Your company, your friends.
Jack shook his head, squeezing her hands gently.
Emma, don't you see? You've become the most important part of my life. This move to New York, starting the nonprofit, it's not just about the work. It's about building a life where I can be true to myself and be with you.
He took a deep breath, his gaze never leaving hers.
I know consistency is important to you, and I want you to understand. This is me committing to consistency. Not by suppressing parts of myself, but by fully embracing all of who I am, all the time. The Jack you see now is the Jack you'll get every day. Passionate about making a difference, yes, but also the guy who'll make terrible puns over breakfast and hold you when you've had a tough day at the hospital.
Emma felt tears pricking at her eyes, but she pressed on.
And what if it doesn't work out? What if you regret giving up your company for this?
Jack's expression grew serious.
Emma, I could never regret choosing authenticity and love over profit and pretense. But I understand your fear, so let me be clear. I'm not asking you to upend your life. I'm moving to New York regardless of what happens between us. This is about me becoming the best version of myself, a journey you inspired. I hope you'll be part of that journey, but even if you're not, I'll always be grateful for the way you've changed my life.
He gently cupped her face with one hand.
You are so important to me, Emma. Important enough that I want to build a life where I can be fully myself, where I can support your dreams as much as you've supported mine. I'm all in, if you'll have me. Every part of me, consistent and true, day after day. What do you say?
Emma felt something shift inside her, a final wall crumbling. She saw before her not two Jacks, but one complete person. Complex, flawed, wonderful. And she realized that in trying to reconcile the different sides of Jack, she'd been avoiding reconciling the different sides of herself.
Okay.
She said softly, a smile breaking through her tears.
Okay?
Jack repeated, hope blazing in his eyes. Emma nodded, feeling lighter than she had in years.
Okay, let's do this. Together.
As Jack pulled her into an embrace, the room around them fading away, Emma felt the last of her fear dissolve. She'd spent so long running from connection, from the messiness of love. But here, in Jack's arms, she felt not lost, but found. Two imperfect people, with all their complexities and contradictions, choosing to face life side by side. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but something better. A real beginning.